Hey there, it's Lara here. Welcome to Witchy Wednesday, your weekly astrology forecast. So this one's for the week of October 23rd to 27th, 2020. Thanks for being here. This is going to be probably a little bit shorter today than usual because it's been a really busy day and I'm getting to this super late, a lot later than usual. And I still have a bunch of stuff to take care of. But I wanted to jump in and give you the scoop on what's going on and maybe give you a bit of a heads up of what's coming up as well. Before I do that, I just want to mention something to you that I forgot to mention last week. So if you're on Instagram, make sure that you're following me over there. The link is below. You can just click the link and it'll take you right over to my page. But I've got this really cool contest going on. I'm in a collaboration with a bunch of other makers, right? Artists and crafters and witches. So we collaborated to do a Samhain Witches Bundle giveaway, and it's an Instagram contest. So if you go over to Instagram, you'll see the graphic that says exactly that, giveaway, Samhain Witches Bundle giveaway, and it tells you underneath that post how to enter. So the contest is open to October 25th, and it's there's a lot of cool stuff. It's the prize package is worth close to $600, and I'm giving away a free birth chart reading. So if you're interested in that, head over there. I just wanted to remember to tell you that because I forgot last week. All right, so here we are. Today, the moon is it still? I'm just taking a quick look. It's just moved into Capricorn. It was in Sagittarius earlier today, and it's moved into Capricorn. Then it moves into Aquarius Friday, and then she enters Pisces on Sunday. But of note here is that as the moon moves through Capricorn for the next couple of days, 2.5 days, she will, as she does every month when she moves through Capricorn, she'll hit all those planets, right? Conjunct those planets in Capricorn, the Capricorn Council. So she's going to conjunct Asteroid Pallas, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. And so when she does this every month, we get this reminder, right, of all the things that we've been dealing with in 2020 and even previous to that. Because Pluto's been in Capricorn for a while. Saturn has been in Capricorn for almost 2.5 years. And then Jupiter's been in there as well for a year or so, right? Close to a year anyway. Not quite yet, but for a while. So we've been going through all of this Capricorn stuff that we've been talking about. We had the Saturn-Pluto conjunction earlier this year in January in Capricorn. And so as the moon moves through Capricorn, she reminds us, right, of, oh yeah, that's what's going on. That's what we're dealing with. And it's something that we feel on a personal level with the moon. So, and we may also see worldly events triggered, but it's kind of like it will transit the Capricorn house where this big restructuring has been going on, right? All this hard work that's been going on that we've been talking about. So take note of that. Take note of, probably by now, if you've been listening for a while, you might know where Capricorn sits in your chart. If not, then I'm happy to look at your chart for you. You can connect with me over on my website. The link is below. And, or, you can draw up your own birth chart if you're interested in doing that at a website like astro.com, for example. But you need an accurate birth time. That's, makes things most relevant and accurate for you. So that's what the moon is doing. And what we're going to talk about mostly in this video is the fact that we're approaching Scorpio season officially, right? The sun enters Scorpio on October 22nd, which is tomorrow, specifically around 7 p.m. Eastern time. And you know, it's an intense time. Scorpio is an intense energy, right? Scorpio is the energy of transformation and of really digging deep. In traditional astrology, Scorpio was ruled by Mars. And with the discovery of Pluto, Pluto was assigned as the ruler of Scorpio. And so some people still use the traditional rulerships. Some people use only the modern rulerships. Some people use both. I tend to take a look at both. Increasingly, I'm finding myself doing that, kind of blending the two, modern and traditional. But anyway, Scorpio is a sign that pulls no punches. Scorpio is the bullshit detector of the zodiac, particularly if you have moon in Scorpio. But, when we look at the symbolism of Scorpio, obviously we think of Scorpio as being the symbol of the scorpion, which it is, but that's only one symbol connected to Scorpio. Scorpio also has connections to both the eagle and the phoenix, right? And if you think of that, it's sort of like the three levels of Scorpio almost. The scorpion is kind of this, it's the base level Scorpio energy that can be protective and lash out and hide in the dark places and sting you if you're not careful, be a bit elusive and those kinds of things, secretive. And then we have the eagle, which, if you think about an eagle soaring above the landscape and able to really have that eagle's point of view, that eagle eye vision, right? Really hone in on its prey, for example, and get this expansive view of everything from way up in the clouds. So there's that level as well. And then we have the phoenix, right? The phoenix who rises from the ashes, but first burns up. And so it's this association with the process of death and decay and renewal and transformation and all of that kind of thing. And so, Scorpio is associated with all of those characteristics and traits and archetypes. So interestingly, and I have like one little paragraph of notes here, so I'm just kind of talking today. Interestingly, when right around Scorpio season, right, we always think of like, it's no surprise that Halloween, All Hallows Eve, Samhain, for witches and pagans, it happens in Scorpio season. Shortly after the sun enters Scorpio, we have Samhain, and that is actually on the wheel of the year. It's New Year's Eve. It's witches' New Year's Eve, right? November 1st marks the new year according to the wheel of the year, if that's something that you mark. And the idea here is that, when things decay, particularly if you live somewhere where you see the change of seasons, which I definitely do, you get this sense of, the leaves are falling off the trees, everything's starting to go fallow, and things are decaying, right? And some animals are retreating and hibernating and that sort of thing. And even people are retreating a little bit. We've all been doing that anyways this year, but because it's getting colder, that sort of thing. So the idea is that the process of renewal actually starts with death. So it's not an ending so much as a beginning, right? It's that transition from endings to beginnings. And so that's, that's interesting. Something to note, definitely. I'll talk more next week about that whole idea, because, sorry, I'm just looking at the calendar here. Yeah, next week we'll be talking about the full moon, which is happening on Halloween, on Samhain. It's a pretty wild one. So we're going to talk about that next week. But and so we'll talk a little bit more about these themes, right? Anyway, the other thing, well, there's a few other things I wanted to mention to you. One is that something I find interesting is Lilith, Black Moon Lilith, which is this not a planet or a celestial body. It is a point in the sky. It's Black Moon Lilith is the farthest the moon gets away from the Earth in her orbit. So she's connected to this idea of that which we maybe can't sort of see or grasp. Things hidden from view, things that are in the dark. But in the mythology, Lilith, you've heard me talk about this story before. Lilith is the first wife of Eve, right? Who was banished from the Garden of Eden because she wouldn't submit. And so Lilith has this association with, the like feminine sort of power and sovereignty, and really sometimes anger and rage and that sort of thing as well. So Lilith is moving out of Aries. And she is moving into the fixed earth sign of Taurus. And that's happening on October 21st. So that happens today. I just realized that happens today. And she'll be there till July 18th of 2021. And so what's happening, like I kind of get the sense that this move into Taurus for Lilith is like, we may see, there's been a lot of things initiated as Lilith was in Aries in terms of, female or feminine sort of anger and issues around, feminine women's rights and different things like this, right? There's just been a lot of anger bubbling up in general. And I think that with Lilith moving into Taurus, it may be this sort of grounding into that, like, okay, we've got your attention. So now we're going to really dig in here, and we're not giving up this battle. Taurus is a fixed earth sign. So let's do some practical work to change things, right? So that's just something that that's sort of I don't know, when I was thinking about it, that's sort of really what bubbled up for me. So when Lilith moves into Taurus, she's going to oppose the sun just as she enters, just as the sun enters Scorpio, right? And the sun is this solar, more masculine yang energy, right? And so they're going to oppose each other. And then later on, Lilith will conjunct Uranus. And Uranus is implicated in this full moon that's coming up on Samhain, on Halloween. And we're going to talk about that next week. But Lilith is going to conjunct Uranus. And what's interesting about this is that it's happening right at the same time as the great conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter that's happening on December 21st, the winter solstice, right? I looked at this chart yesterday, and I had looked at it way back, and I knew all this, like I knew this was coming and the great conjunction was happening on the solstice and all of this. But when I looked at this chart, really looked at it yesterday or the day before, I was really kind of blown away. So we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks, but it's worth noting here. And then Mercury, of course, Mercury is in retrograde right now, right? In Scorpio, and will be moving back into Libra on October 27th. And so, this is highlighting that cardinal energy again, right? The cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, have really been being triggered over the course of this year. And so Mercury retrograde, moving back into the later degrees of Libra, cardinal air sign, going back to, I think it's 25 degrees. So those last 5 degrees in particular of the cardinal signs are getting triggered yet again, right? It's this never ending. I mean, by now we're sort of familiar with the story. But Uranus and Taurus is going to have a few things, a few surprises up its sleeve for us. And, Uranus and Mercury are in this opposition on and off. So that's already kind of been being stirred up, but Uranus isn't done with us yet. And Uranus is a key player in 2021, Saturn and Uranus. So I want to show you the chart quickly, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more, and then we're going to quickly zip through the signs, and we're going to talk about Scorpio, right? The sun moving through Scorpio for each of the signs. So, okay, here's the chart for today, and we've got the moon in Capricorn, as I mentioned, right? And then the moon, as she moves through the next couple days, is going to ping all these planets, well, Pallas Athena, asteroid Pallas, and Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn. And incidentally, Pluto happens to be right now at 22 degrees, which is the exact spot that the Saturn-Pluto conjunction happened in January. So that is just like, this further kind of digging up the dirt, turning over the soil, really breaking things down. Pluto has been completely transforming that area. So that's what's going on. There's the sun still in Libra right now, but about to move into Scorpio, right? And then one of the things I don't think I mentioned is that the sun is going to be in a conjunction with Mercury, and that's happening on the 25th, on Sunday. So I'll talk briefly about that in a second. We also have Venus here at 22 degrees, who is in a trine, a supportive conversation with Pluto, who's at 25 Capricorn. So, that is a bit of a, propping us up a little bit. That's helping us out a little bit these days. Although Venus does not love being in Virgo. Virgo is a little too practical for Venus, but Venus is going to pick up dignity pretty soon because she's going to move into Libra on the 29th of the month. So that's going to be good for Venus and Venusian themes, right? Which are love, money, beauty, aesthetic, values, that sort of thing, relationships, what we desire, right? So what we sort of are attracted to, or what we attract to us. So, and then, okay, there's Uranus. I pointed out Uranus retrograde right now at 9 degrees. There's Lilith, just entered Taurus today, right? And going to, like I said, meet up with Uranus right around that December 21st date. So, and of course, here's Eris still, right? We can't forget about Eris, because Eris is a key player here as well. Another very powerful sort of feminine energy that is squaring the Capricorn situation in a very close square to Pluto right now. Okay, so that's, I'm going to take this away from my face, and just having a quick look at a few things I wrote down to see if there's anything. Okay, so what I want to talk to you just briefly about before I start going through the signs is that, like I said, on the 25th, Sun and Mercury are going to meet up in the sky in a conjunction. And so this is like Mercury and the Sun holding council kind of thing, right? So Mercury is the messenger going to the king, the sun, for counsel, seeking counsel, exchanging information, keeping in mind Mercury's retrograde. And, we know that when a planet is retrograde, it's more about a slowing down. It's more about an internalizing. It's more about, sometimes it's about things like reversals. And of course, all those things we associate with Mercury retrograde, like communication glitches and tech issues and, all of that kind of stuff as well. But if you think of it, one of the things I think is interesting, Mercury in the mythology is, he was this, and I shouldn't say he because Mercury is not gendered, but there is this connection with Mercury as the guide of souls. So Mercury could move between the worlds, right? And Mercury guides souls when they pass. And so Mercury wasn't afraid of death because Mercury knew, just like we were talking about earlier, that death is not a final ending. Mercury, could see both sides. And so Mercury, like in Scorpio, it's this digging deep energy, but Mercury's not afraid to go there, so we shouldn't be either. To kind of maybe contemplate some of the things that are a little bit that we don't always like to think about, the tough stuff. Sometimes we need to get the skeletons out of the closet. Sometimes, the only way to heal a situation is for things to be, the truth to come out, to be revealed. It's not always comfortable, but sometimes it's necessary, right? And so Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, meeting up with the sun in Scorpio, there can be some really kind of important insight or information that comes to light, I think, around this time. And, something, it could be secrets coming out when it's in Scorpio. It could be just a real probing of, to try to dig up the dirt. I mean, these are intense times when we're talking about in relation to the U.S. election and where things are at right now. We're getting closer and closer to that November 3rd date, right? When Mercury stations direct. So there's a lot of information being circulated and things being dug up and all of that going on. So anyway, okay. So what I want to do now is take you through each of the signs. We're talking first and foremost about rising sign or ascendant when we're dealing with these general forecasts, right? Because I can't specifically know exactly what house your sun sits in. But when we talk about rising sign, we can get an accurate read in terms of, and we're talking about rising sign, whole sign houses. We can get an accurate read of at least what house these energies are triggering for you, right? Of course, if you know your own chart, then that's the best way to go. But if you know your rising sign, then listen for your rising sign first, and then also your sun and your moon, because that will be added layers of information as well for you. So the sun, whenever the sun moves through a sign, right? The sun spends about a month in each sign of the zodiac. And whenever the sun moves through a sign, it shines its light on that area. So whatever house Scorpio sits for you is where the sun is bringing this this energy of needing to be seen, of shining the light on something. So we tend to, our attention can be drawn to that area of life for us as the sun is moving through that sign. And one of the things I find, you can really get a sense of how this works when you think about whatever sign comes just before your sign. So in this case, or sorry, yeah, in this case, Scorpio, what comes after Scorpio? Sagittarius. So say you're a Sagittarius, right? And Sagittarius sun. As the moon moves through Scorpio, it is moving through the area of your chart. That's that, if you're a Sagittarius rising, it's the 12th house. And so it's that time for you to retreat, to rest, to kind of, you're at the end of your solar cycle, just about to experience your solar return. And so that's a time when in the cycle, when you're kind of resting, recuperating, maybe a bit more, sometimes we're a bit more solitary or a bit more, a bit less social. We can feel more drained and that kind of thing as well, just before the sun enters our own sign, which is, this kind of rebirth. So you can think of it like that, if that makes sense to you. So in this case, Scorpios are having their solar return, right? Which is when the sun hits the point it was at when you were born, which incidentally doesn't necessarily happen on the exact same day that you were born every year. It can happen a day before or a day after, right? The point is, like, we can look at a solar return chart for the time, and I do this for people, for the time when the sun reaches the exact degree it was at when you were born. And when we look at that chart, we get this kind of, it's like a birth chart for your year. So we get a sense of kind of like the energy imprint for that year for you. So that's how that works. So anybody who is a Scorpio, the sun moves into Scorpio tomorrow, stays there until the 22nd, I believe, of November. And, so anybody experiencing their solar return then is a Scorpio sun. And then if you're a Scorpio rising, this energy is happening, right, in your first house. The sun will be moving through your first house, which is an important house, the house of the self, the house of your physical body and, physical vitality. It speaks to health in some ways. It speaks to your appearance in the world, how you project yourself out into the world, how the world perceives you. It's that sort of initiation. So it speaks to how you respond to new experiences, that sort of thing. So for Scorpio rising, this is where the sun is moving. This is where the sun is shining its light for you over the next month. And these issues, first house sort of themes and issues may be brought to light, may have a light shone on them, may require some will. The sun is our will, some of that sort of solar energy, right? So that's for you, Scorpio. You've also got Mercury retrograding through your sign, but Mercury, as I said, is going to move back into Libra on the 27th for a bit and then re-enter your sign and do the whole trip over again, but in a forward motion this time, right? So you'll have that chance to, as Mercury transits your sign, you'll have a chance to really work on all things sort of communications and straighten out any things that may have been backlogged or, things that may have gone awry when Mercury is retrograde. But there'll be a focus for you there when Mercury re-enters your sign and travels through. Okay, so and any of you that are born around Samhain, if you're born around this full moon that's happening at the end of the month, then it's a really potentially exciting time for you. Interesting time, definitely. So listen next week, and we're going to talk more about that. All right, we're going to move on to Libra now. So Libra, Scorpio sits in your second house. So the sun will be moving through your second house. Libra rising, for the next month, and shining its solar energy, right? Like a big old flashlight shining on your second house, which has to do with your personal resources. It has to do with your time, your money, your energy, your values, your self-worth. These sorts of issues come to light, or you need some light shed on them potentially. But really, when we're talking about the sun, the sun's light is there, and it is, like I said, it's like a big old spotlight on second house matters, right? So those things may be drawn to your attention or are at the forefront in some way during Scorpio season for you. All right, next we've got Virgo. So Virgo, for you, the sun will be traveling through your third house. That's where Scorpio sits for you, Virgo rising. And so this brings, themes of communication, commerce, things that are kind of in your immediate environment, including people. So, oftentimes we think of that as siblings, neighbors, cousins, community members, that sort of thing. It's also reflective, third house is also reflective of learning and teaching, but more so on a level of, the beginner, early learning, that sort of thing. It can have to do with trade. I think I mentioned commerce already, marketing, communications, all of that kind of stuff. So that can be highlighted for you during Scorpio season as the sun moves through there. So keep your eye on that, Virgo. Next, we've got Leo. So Leo, for you, the sun will be moving through, this is for Leo rising, right? Also Leo sun and moon to a lesser degree, but the sun will be moving through your fourth house if you're a Leo rising. And so this is highlighting, shining a flashlight, a spotlight on issues around home, family, place of living, roots, real estate, emotional security, mother figures, that sort of thing. And this is where, the sun is sort of drawing your attention to this area over the next month or so as it's Scorpio season. So that's for you, Virgo. I'm sorry, Leo. Next, we've got Cancer, where the sun will be traveling through your fifth house for the next month during Scorpio season. So the sun is shining its big old solar spotlight on all things that have to do with children, your personal self-expression, creative self-expression, how you shine your light on in the world. The fifth house is home of Leo, which is ruled by the sun, right? But so for you, as the sun moves through this fifth house, it shines its light on those areas. Also on things that have to do with, how do you have fun in life? What sparks joy for you? What brings you pleasure? These sorts of things, right? So that's what you've got going on in terms of the sun moving through Scorpio for you, Cancer rising. And then we've got Gemini. So Gemini, for you, we've got the sun moving through your sixth house for the next month. So this is drawing your attention, shining a spotlight on themes around health, wellness, illness, your daily routine, right? Your daily grind, work, paid or unpaid work, how you are in service. Sometimes pets are involved here with the sixth house. So anything surrounding those themes can be spotlighted or highlighted for you over the course of Scorpio season. All right, next we've got Taurus. So Taurus, for you, the sun is moving through your seventh house, drawing its solar energy or shining its solar energy on all things relationship for you, right? Seventh house is the house of our close personal relationships. And so it is this drawing your attention to issues around, and I don't necessarily mean issues, like that's not to say things are going to go wrong. It's just, it's your calling for your attention, right? Close personal relationships, business agreements, business relationships, contracts and agreements, that kind of thing are highlighted for you at this time. And And then we've got Aries. So Aries, for you, the sun will be shining its light in your 8th house, right? For Aries rising specifically. And so as the sun moves through your 8th house, it draws your attention, it lights up themes surrounding your interconnectedness or your entanglement with other people, your intimate relationships and connections with others. You know, it also has to do oftentimes with other people's resources. So things like, loans, insurance, taxes, debt, inheritance, these sorts of themes can be highlighted, as can anything that's sort of hidden, occult, which just means hidden knowledge, secrets, this whole notion of transformation, that cycle of death and rebirth, because the 8th house is home to Scorpio. So all of those things, psychological, healing and that sort of thing as well. The 8th house is complicated. But that is where the sun is shining its light for you during Scorpio season, Aries. So, okay, next we've got Pisces. Pisces, for you, the sun will be moving through your 9th house during Scorpio season. So it is shining its light and drawing your attention to things that have to do with your worldview, your belief system, things you learn from foreign people and places, and including foreign travel. It can have to do with teaching and learning, usually at a more advanced level. It's very, like, it can have to do with publishing, even getting your message out that way, connecting with a teacher or being the teacher, that sort of thing, right? So that's what's happening for you in that regard, Pisces, is in terms of the sun moving through Scorpio. And then we've got Aquarius. So Aquarius rising and sun and moon to a lesser degree, but you've got the sun moving through your 10th house for the next month during Scorpio season. And so this is drawing the solar energy, right? Drawing your attention, shining its light on issues around career, your worldly ambitions, your public reputation and persona, the legacy you wish to leave, your relationship to authority and authority figures, your relationship to your own authority, all these themes, right? It's a very public house, the 10th house. It's the top of the chart. So this is where the solar energy is, warming up this area of the chart for you over the course of Scorpio season. So from tomorrow, from the 22nd all through to about the 22nd of November. So that's what's happening for you, Aquarius. And then we've got Capricorn. So Capricorn, for you, this light of the sun, right, will be moving through your 11th house for the next month. And so this is bringing that, drawing your attention to issues around, or themes around. I keep saying issues. It doesn't mean you're going to have issues. It just means this area will draw your attention for whatever reason, right? So 11th house has to do with the group, the collective, humanitarian causes sometimes, but anything like, friendships, clubs, associations, networks, online networks, the internet, that sort of thing. Also about your hopes and dreams for the future and the people that can help you get there, and the people that are sort of walking the same path as you. So it can help you gain, kind of. So that's for you, Capricorn. That's what's being lit up for you over the next month while the sun moves through that area of your chart. And then last but not least in this case, we've got Sagittarius. So I was using you as an example earlier in the intro, Sagittarius, because as the sun, particularly as a Sagittarius rising, as the sun moves through your 12th house, but even if you're a Sagittarius sun, it's this time of year when you're about to experience your solar return, or the sun moving into your first house if you're a Sag rising. And so it's a time of retreat. So the sun is actually highlighting or drawing your attention to 12th house themes right now, which have to do with rest, relaxation, recovery, recuperation, retreat, solitude, mental, spiritual health, your connection to spirituality, whatever that means for you. Sometimes this has to do with taking a look at how we're sabotaging ourselves, or, some bad habits and behaviors that we have, that we might want to consider changing. It can also, 12th house can also bring into your experience, things that surround, like places that are tucked away from the world. And so this can be things like spiritual retreat centers, rehabilitation facilities, hospitals, detention facilities, these kinds of things, right? That's a possibility too for some folks. But mostly this is like for you, Sag, it's like it's your time to take a bit of a rest before the sun moves into your sign. All right, so I hope that wasn't too rambly, but that's what I've got for you this week. And next week we're going to talk about that full moon, which is a blue moon because it's the second full moon in a month. October began with a full moon and it ends with a full moon as well. So, and Uranus is, going to have some surprises for us. So we've got that to talk about next week. And don't forget to enter the contest that I told you about on Instagram, and take care. All right. Until then, bye-bye.